I don't know if anybody gives a shit what we have to say, but
It doesn't matter. It doesn't
maybe.
matter. Like nobody's stopping us. Nobody's stopped us yet. That's the
Our
wild thing.
goal, our goal is to have the audacity of straight white men.
Hi, I'm Maddie.
And I'm Abigail, and this is
Two writers.
Many Wrongs. Rhiannon Fisher is a writer of many genres, though she mainly focuses on fantasy, historical fiction, and mythology. She loves all things mysterious, spooky, or queer. She earned her bachelor's in public policy and creative writing from the University of Redlands and received her master's in creative writing from the University of Edinburgh in Scotland. You can find her work in the From Arthur's Seat 2022 anthology and on AO3, but don't ask her for her username because she's not going to give it to you. Thank you so much for joining us, Rhiannon. We're very excited to have you. I really just want to kind of jump in. I know that you guys just released your Pride issue, which is very, very exciting. And I kind of want to talk about now that you guys have been around for a year, how did the Silly Goose Press start building a following and like getting people to submit to you?
That's a good question. Well, first of all, thank you guys so much for having me on. Of course, thanks for
Um,
being here. Excited to talk to you guys. Um, so our so we started like pretty small, obviously, and our first issue was actually like 100% solicitation of our writer friends.
Oh,
So I think Lexi talked a little bit about this, but three of us, me and Lexi and Parker, are we're all in grad programs at some point, and then all four of the original geese, so myself, Lexi Rosen, Parker Dean, and Eric Embaum, all went to undergrad together. So between all of us, we have several writing friends, which we're very grateful for. So our first issue, we really spent a lot of time sitting down and thinking about who we wanted of our friends to ask to help us curate the vibe of the magazine.
mhm.
And so we all kind of independently went through the people that we knew from our individual programs and from our collective program, and figured out like which of the poets we know do we think have some, like could write us something that fits our vibe, or which of our fiction writers, kind of went through the list. So yeah, our first issue was completely solicitation. And then so we started all our socials, did all that. And I feel like it was kind of word of mouth
Mm.
at the beginning. So all of our friends who um, were like being published were then posting about us. And so their friends knew about it. And then also we were trying to be really active on our socials. So
Mhm.
like Lexi has been on Twitter, X.
Yep.
Um, and she was really active on there, and I think that was really helpful. I think a lot of people found us through there, and through Instagram, and and I think the name kind of lends itself to
hmm
being like, what is that?
Yes.
So yeah, and I think especially Lexi is very good at talking to people about talking
hmm
about the magazine,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that was really cool too. And we've built it's like kind of a slow build at first, but I
Mhm.
think AWP really helped us like get our name out there. So yeah,
How many submissions did you have for the Pride issue? Because I know it was a mini issue.
it was a mini issue, and it's the first one we did. So I think we really learned a lot from doing it that way. Um, I don't know the exact number. We probably had, I don't know, maybe 50 in
Wow.
total. Like actually not that many in comparison to our last issue.
Yeah. Right.
And we kept the submission window really short. It was only,
hmm
a little over a week. Um, and so I think we're planning to do a second mini issue around Halloween, like a spooky issue. Ooh.
Fun.
Very excited about. But we've learned that we think we need to start advertising it a lot earlier.
hmm
Oh yeah. So to say, hey, in September or whatever, we're gonna start accepting submissions for this. So be ready because
You're
the window
right.
will be really short. Yeah.
That's so cool. Just like thinking about the way that these things build. My mom helps run a scholarship foundation, and like the first year that they ran it, they got 13 applications and they accepted 12 students and like felt really good. But they were like, but we still have standards. Like we didn't accept everybody. Like so I love this idea that your first issue was just like, these are our friends, this is our community, we're gonna boost them and like it's like that, like a pilot episode where the like initial director sets the tone for everything else. Is that kind of what it felt like to you guys?
Yeah, kind of. I think yeah, definitely. We really have so many talented friends, which and it was about highlighting them and also definitely about making sure that when we showed the magazine to people and when people were submitting to us, they could go back and look at a full issue,
Hmm.
Mhm.
had the vibes that we were wanting to curate. So yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I like the
I
idea of not just leaning on the community that you built up because, we really love community here. We like talking about building a community. You focused on going back to the community you'd built, but not just that,
Mhm.
but finding the people and the pieces that could represent the idea that you had so you could show it to people. And I really love that to build a larger community off of a community you already created.
Hmm.
It's really
Yeah.
cool.
That's so smart. Yeah. So I do want to ask, just going off of the idea of like the vibes and the voice. Lexi talked a bit about that you guys have this like brand document of, things that Sir Goosington III would say, and like all that, like you guys spent a lot of time on that. So, as the fiction editor, I'm really curious, have you ever accepted a piece that like you knew fit the vibe of the magazine, but didn't necessarily like it wasn't necessarily one of your personal favorites? Like, do you ever have that battle between like your personal taste as a reader versus what the brand of the magazine is?
Um, Like yes and no. I really most of the stuff that I read and write falls into the stuff that I look for in the fiction, like when we're accepting
Hmm.
fiction submissions. So there haven't been a lot that I have accepted that I'm like, I don't know if I would read this outside, uh,
Hmm.
which is great because, I'm just reading
Yeah.
stuff that I'm enjoying all day. Um, so, but so I'm like the fiction editor, and then we have Ian Wirtz, who is he is one of my he's like a reader, but he's an editor too.
Okay.
Um and ultimately we're hoping in the future to have actual readers,
Hmm.
to bring in people to do kind of that like initial run through, and
Hmm.
hopefully he eventually will be our head reader, but for right now we're kind of the last two issues we've been splitting the reading
Hmm.
duty. So there have been some pieces that he has really liked that I've liked, but they're not probably what I would have chosen.
Hmm.
But it's nice that we're getting a more like a more diverse
Mhm.
choosing, I guess, if that makes
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that was gonna be one of my next questions is because I knew you guys had like the one reader, but as you gain more readers, how do you ensure that the voice stays the same with more people helping to choose?
Yeah, I think that's something we're really learning as we go. Some of us have been involved in other magazines before and been readers for other things. I never actually have. This is my first experience really ever with a literary magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is definitely something we've had like the initial conversations about. And if and when we do get readers, I think we're really going to have to sit down and say, for fiction, this is exactly what I'm looking for. For poetry, this is exactly what we're looking
Hmm.
for, etc. So I think right now the hope is that the readers will really help to kind of cull out the initial like this person is not submitting during the right submission period.
Right.
This person, there's not actually nothing in the body of this email. And this person didn't read any of our guidelines,
Yeah.
sent us a manuscript. Uh,
Hmm.
so I think that is like initially what we're talking about. And then
Hmm.
we are going to we've already sat down a little bit and talked about it,
Mhm.
but when we get to that point, like here's a
Hmm.
here's a list. We have to train them, I guess.
Yeah, and I really
Yeah.
like that you're thinking about it now before it's actually starting and just kind of taking notes from what you're learning just by reading the submissions. Because yes, there is I read for a magazine right now and there's just some people who are like, you didn't even like look at the guidelines. You have you just blind sat. Like I respect the hustle, but
Yeah.
take like 2 seconds and make sure you're
Yeah.
submitting to the
Hmm.
right place. So I think that helps a lot to weed out that stuff so you can concentrate on the stuff that's worthy of being looked at. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's super helpful, especially when people are sending stuff that's we have our word limit set for fiction and for creative nonfiction at 3,000 words,
Mhm.
and a lot of people go right up to that point. and it's that's like 10 pages. And
Yeah.
so, if they're not sending stuff that is like edited at all, or that's
Hmm.
Yeah.
and I have to
Yeah.
read 700 submissions like that, it's a lot of, yeah.
Yeah. Has there ever been a time where you are like, yeah, I can't finish this. Like I want to give the respect to the writer and all that kind of stuff, but like this is so poorly edited or like just so clearly not what we're looking for, or do you force yourself to read everything all the way through?
There have been maybe one or two instances where I was like, there's no way. But I really do. I want to be respectful of people's time and their
Yep.
effort and energy because I mean, it's really vulnerable and hard to put yourself
Mhm.
out there.
Mhm.
And I think that we have a pretty generally young
Mhm.
submission base.
Yeah.
Um, and we have like a lot of college kids or a lot of people who are just getting into writing, and
Hmm.
which makes sense because we're a smaller magazine.
Hmm.
Um, and so I always want to be respectful because, this person, they're
Yeah.
15 years old and it's not their fault they haven't learned how POV works yet. Like,
Hmm.
you know, so let's
Yeah.
be kind. And so sometimes if I will get a submission I'm having a hard time with, I will just stop reading it for a while and go read
Mhm.
other things and then go back and finish it. Um,
Nice.
because at least that way, even if I know I'm not going to accept it, I I like to give feedback and send like advice and notes if I
Hmm.
can, if I have the time. Especially right now when we're still relatively small and it's manageable for me to spend an extra 5 minutes telling somebody, please
Hmm.
don't do this thing next time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So most of the time I read it all the way through. There have been one or two instances though where
Hmm.
first page or so and I was like, I, I can't do this.
There was there was a time in my undergrad where we were doing a workshop and the word limit I want to say was like 2,000 words or something like that. And this person submitted 7,000 words. And I found myself getting angrier and angrier and angrier the more that I was reading it. And by
Uh,
the time we got to the workshop, it was with a teacher who I'd had before, who like he and I had a good rapport, that he literally had to be like, Abigail, like tone it down. Like we're getting personal kind of thing.
yeah.
So I love that you like step away, take a breath because I could like at 20, I was like, this is disrespectful and you wasted my time and like got so worked up about it. So it's nice that you have a system to be like, listen, they're new, they don't know as much. Like that's so like empathetic and kind that I hope that every literary magazine editor is as nice as you.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if Lexi, I don't remember if she mentioned this, but we have a no-fly list um as
Love it.
our process.
Uh,
And so normally it's reserved for people who we haven't had to put many people on the list, thankfully.
yeah.
But it's mostly like people who are really rude or
Hmm.
Mhm.
just yeah, being really obnoxious. Um,
God,
yeah. So
your commitment to the bit. I love that
I
it's called a
know.
no-fly
It's
list.
so
you go.
great.
It's so good.
Um,
Oh my God.
I would like to say that I love that you take the time to give feedback. We were literally just talking about that before you came on about I recently got a rejection and I got some really nice feedback from the editor and I know that that takes a lot of time and
Yeah.
I just it's so appreciated and so even though like it hurts to get rejected, but it's nice to know like oh like they did see value in this and here's something an action item I can take. So I really appreciate that you take the time to do that. That is very special.
I was listening to your guys's podcast when you came back from AWP and you guys were talking about how you didn't you said you submitted a panel that was about literary
Hmm.
community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like obviously community is very important to us too.
Hmm.
And I kind of see the feedback loop as part of that building
Hmm.
community.
Hmm.
Because we've had several people where I've sent them stuff like, hey, I really like your writing style. I'm not going to take this piece because of XYZ reason, but if you have something in the future
Hmm.
that you're looking to house that's along these lines, like please send it to me. And everyone, they're always so excited about it.
Hmm.
We have gotten people who have sent us different stuff and that we have accepted. So I think, yeah, I think it's all part of building
That's
that
amazing.
Yeah, and
community.
it really does help. I literally have like rejection letters printed out and put like next to my computer, like because it's like you're not out of your mind. Like there are people, there is something of value in your writing, and like it's a rejection, but it's more than that. It's a conversation. It feels like
Mhm.
a community is being built, and I've had, following those people on social media and feeling like they're a part of my community now. They'll always be a part of my writing journey because they give me a little bit of hope to keep writing. So that is so meaningful.
Okay, so I want to talk about, we've talked about rejection some. I want to talk about acceptance. So let's say that a piece gets accepted. What are the next steps for that author? Like, what does the editing process look like for you guys?
Yeah. So, yeah, once we send out our acceptances, then the editor in charge of that genre, so for me it's fiction, we will go through and do developmental edits if they're necessary for the piece. So we'll go through and read it again, and I'll pick out any points where I'm like, this sentence or this phrase could be stronger because I need it to tie back to this thing, or, I like this phrase, but it's kind of confusing and I need you to clear it up a little bit or whatever it is. Or give me two more paragraphs, expand this section, whatever. And then I'll send that back to the author. They'll like do fix the edits, do all that, and then I'll send it off to our copy editor, Annalise. And she goes through and does like the really nitty-gritty line edit
Hmm.
Mhm.
and grammar and all that stuff. Um, and once that's done, we have like we have contracts too, so we send them a contract that they sign, and then we send it back, and then they send it back, and we sign it. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, and then it goes on the website once they've made all the
Hmm.
edits and everyone has approved the edits, and then yeah, it goes on the website, goes in the PDF, and then we publish it. So yeah.
That's so exciting. Like, do you, is, I don't even know how to phrase this. Like, can you describe that feeling of finding a piece that you want to publish and like getting behind that piece and stuff? Like, what is that experience like for you as the editor?
I think, well, it's very exciting when I find a piece that I immediately know I want to publish.
Hmm.
Um, when I get submissions and I'm reading through them, well, right now I send off some to Ian to read as well, but when we're reading through them, I pretty much immediately know I know my immediate knows
Hmm.
will mark. And then I have any piece that I am interested in the story or I like the writing style, but I'm not 100% positive. I will put in my maybes, and that ends up being most of the pieces. Like there have been very few times when I have read something and been like, yes, this is exactly what I want. With like no edits, no changes, nothing.
Hmm.
Very exciting when I do find that. And then I'll go through after submissions are closed and go through all of the maybes and read them all again. So, and narrow it down to probably, I don't know, maybe 10 that I can then go through and see like, are any themings really similar? Or are there, like
Hmm.
which ones are the ones that need the least amount of editing, which are the ones,
Hmm.
and then doing like a second culling and all that.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, very excited when I find one that doesn't need any work.
Yeah. Does every issue have a theme that you try to make all the pieces in conversation with one another?
Not explicitly. I think we have noticed that the themes and the through lines kind of appear,
Hmm.
but like on their own. And I don't know if it's, the time of life that we're in when we're doing that issue or
Hmm.
whatever it is. Like for this upcoming issue, our issue 5 that's coming out July 17th. All of my fiction pieces that I accepted are all queer in some way. And
Hmm.
that was not necessarily intentional, but it is Pride Month and people are,
Right?
gay stuff. So that's um, and so there's like that through line, and we've had themes like throughout the whole magazine of, loss and love and, grief and whatever it is that
Hmm.
line that we've noticed that's really cool. So I don't know if in the future our main issues will ever have specific themes. I think that's why we want to try to do more mini issues, like
Hmm.
send us spooky things only, or send us only love stories, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Uh,
That would be really fun. That like I just everything about what you guys are doing makes me like jealous in the happiest way of like you guys just get to create this thing with your best friends and like help these writers. Like that's just so cool to me. I love it.
That about your podcast. Like I have actually always been interested in starting a podcast. I love
Aw.
so I feel like it'd be really fun.
Yeah, well, that's all Maddie coming to me being like, "Hey, you want to do this?" And I'm like, "I guess. I don't know if anybody gives a shit what we have to say, but
It doesn't
maybe."
matter. Like nobody's stopping us. Nobody stopped us yet. That's the
Yeah. Our
wild thing.
It's
goal,
great.
our goal is to have the audacity of straight white men. Like that's the hope.
Everybody, that should be everyone's goal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But many
Um,
issues. This is something new that you're
mhm,
doing. The Pride one is the first one. You're going to do a Halloween one. I
Yeah.
love that. That is so cool. What does that do to your workload, though? Does it
mhm,
make it harder for the regular issues or?
Um, well, so we've only done one, but well, so for the mini issues, we have decided that they are going to be unedited, and
mhm,
also we significantly reduced the word count. So all of the
mhm.
like it's all flash fiction, so under 1,000 words as of now, which was lovely, I will say, to have
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
only read through um less than 1,000 words for each piece. It was beautiful. Um, so. Yeah, I think it did add a little bit of a strain, but I think because for issue 5, we gave ourselves actually a lot more time than we have for other issues. So we had this kind of lull where we were waiting for all the submissions to come in for issue 5. So we weren't doing all of the editing and all of the,
Mhm.
nitty-gritty stuff for issue 5 while this Pride issue was going on. It still was definitely work. Like, Lexi was in Greece and people were like, Eric was traveling and everybody was doing stuff. I was working. So that's always a little bit of a strain, but it was a lot easier than the regular issues, which was
Mhm.
to learn. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
I
cool.
do like that you kind of took steps ahead of time to ensure it wouldn't be as big of a strain.
Mhm,
So you want to make something like this possible because I think it's really fun to have a little themed and making them flash fictions is always fun. I think
mhm.
that's always a fun challenge. So having them be smaller, having it be a short submission window, and having a specific theme, I think those all kind of help you prepare for something like that. But I think it's really cool. I'm excited for the spooky one because I love
I know.
Halloween.
If I was about to say, if you don't submit to their spooky issue, Maddie, I'm gonna be so upset. Like you have to.
We do.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, so how many people are you getting right now that are querying or submitting that say like, "Hey, we saw you guys at AWP," or like writing something personal like that?
A lot for the last
Oh,
issue.
yay.
Yeah, we
That's
got a we
awesome.
got a ton of people. I don't know percentages. I'm not a
That's
math.
fine. We're not math people.
Um, but yeah, I would say there was a good portion, and a lot of them were people I specifically remember talking to, um,
Mm, that's
which was
so
very
cool.
exciting. So yeah, like I think I talked to both of you at some point at AWP. I'm
100. I definitely talked to all of the geese.
yeah,
Well, I like
Yeah.
you guys were the friendliest table, it was great.
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about like you as a writer, yourself. And one thing that I'm really interested in is your grad school journey. And so we talked to Lexi a little bit. So we know that you guys graduated in that like 2020, 2021 fog of COVID. So what influenced your decision to go overseas for your master's program?
So okay, so I am actually 2 years ahead in school of
Oh, cool. Okay.
all the other original geese.
Okay.
So and yeah, when we met, I was a junior in college, and they were
Oh.
Cool.
yeah.
Very
So,
nice.
um, and I studied abroad in undergrad in Edinburgh as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and I had actually just gotten back from a study abroad experience when I met the rest of the geese. Uh,
Nice.
kind of ties together. But I knew that I wanted to live there. I wanted to go back. And I had been really interested in their creative writing program because it's like pretty well known. And I kind of it was like in the middle of I was applying in 2020, 2021. Even
Okay.
though I had already graduated from college.
Hmm.
Um, I was, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. With the fog of COVID, like there was just so much going on. I was like,
Yes.
I'm going to grad school.
Yep.
So, um, so yeah, I applied and it was the only school that I applied to. And I was kind of
Wow.
like, well, if I'm not going here, I'm not going anywhere and I'm going to do something else with my life. Uh,
Wow.
yeah. And then I got in and I was like, guess I'm going
Meant to
this time.
be. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That like that's so much pressure to only apply one place, but that's also so self-possessed to be like, this is what I want, and if I don't get it, then I'm gonna switch some other direction. So how was it building a like new writing community overseas? Were there a lot of international students, or was there a hard time like fitting in any way, or is it just all writers are the same and they're all awkward, wonderful people?
There were a lot of international students. I don't know the exact number, but the University of Edinburgh it's something crazy like 60-70% international students.
Wow.
Wow.
Uh, so yeah, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's that high. It's a really big school.
Hmm.
And so I did have a ton of international students. A lot of them were American. So,
Hmm.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
a popular program for Americans. But I had, a classmate who was French and Italian and from Malaysia and India and China. Like they were from all over, uh,
Hmm.
which was really cool.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I feel like I learned so much about writing from them, like writing from different cultural perspectives just by reading
Hmm.
their work,
Hmm.
which I really loved, especially having conversations with them about how their own histories and history with like colonialism or history with
Hmm.
XYZ thing really affects their collective cultural understanding of their writing and their art, which was a really interesting conversation to have because I feel like
Yeah.
us in the West, we really have very rigid kind of views about what a story should be. I'm
Yes.
sure we've all read Save the Cat,
Yes. Yeah.
right? The three act
Hmm.
story structure. Um, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I It's interesting to me because it makes me think of I don't know about you guys. I love like competition cooking shows. And so there's always somebody on those shows who's like, oh, I'm really Asian inspired because like I did this trip and blah blah blah. Or oh well, I studied at the patisseria in France and la la la, and like that influences their current understanding of like culinary arts.
Yeah.
Do you think that that greatly influenced your writing structure, having that international influence around you during your MFA?
I don't know as much about my personal writing structure, but I think it gave me a better understanding about how to more respectfully discuss and include like diverse characters into my own
Hmm.
writing. And then also when it comes to the magazine specifically, like I really like something like diversity of all kinds is really important to me when I
Hmm.
is like we get a ton of queer writers, which is amazing. But I always get really excited when we get like international writers
Hmm.
because of that reason. And it's been really helpful for me to know that sometimes when these writers send us stuff and it's not like the story is not structured exactly the way that I have been taught by,
Hmm. Right.
that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not like, oh, this is a bad story, this is not well written. Like, oh,
Hmm.
actually, this is just how this person in their culture tells their story. And I really like that I know that and was able to have those conversations with
Hmm.
in my writing program. I think it really has expanded my worldview in all senses of the word. So yeah.
That's so cool. That's awesome. Also, I watched both of your faces while I was talking about cooking competitions, and both of you had that, where the fuck is this going? And then both of you had that writerly instinct of like, okay, trust the metaphor. it's coming, the point is coming, but like watching both of you, I was like, oh God, I'm losing
And
them.
listen,
So I just
Okay.
I
I'm
appreciate the
I'm
writer
here all the
instinct.
time. We have so many extended metaphors on this podcast, and half the time I'll make a metaphor. I don't know where it's going, but I trust that it's gonna land somewhere.
Specifically your face, Maddie, when I hit it, you're like, oh, that's how it connects.
Well, that's a good metaphor anyway, because if you watch like British cooking shows like the Great British Bake Off,
Yeah,
they're like, oh, and here's the gentle fl whatever. And then you got like Chopped in America, and they're like, if you
I know.
you're like they're screaming in your face, and you have two
Well,
seconds, like
it made me think, like when as you were talking about like the different cultural impact of stories, like when you think about like what American literary classics a lot of people go to, again, those like straight white men, Hemingway and Fitzgerald are straight, and like all of that kind of that
Yeah.
like masculine Cormac McCarthy bullshit. But when you think about like in the greater scheme of things, Toni Morrison and Zora Neale Hurston, like that is American
yeah,
writing. So I love that idea that you were talking about like the cultural impact of storytelling is still very much growing and building and changing in America. That's a cool thing to you get to be kind of on the forefront of helping to shape as an editor of your magazine. That's really amazing to me.
yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. So I do want to ask, how do you think that your grad program maybe differed from the fellow geese? And like, do you think that it affected how you approach either the writing process or the editing process? Or do you think, no matter what the grad program is, they're all going to just be, here's how you write kind of thing?
I think my experience was very different from both Lexi and Parker, our original
Mm.
geeks, and then we also had two, so Ian and then Annalise, our copy editor, they also went to the same grad program as Lexi. So
Cool.
they
Oh, okay.
were at the Vermont College of Fine Arts together.
Mm-hmm.
And then Parker went to school in Washington, UW-Bothell, and his was like an experimental kind of like,
Oh,
yeah, you'll have to ask him.
cool.
It's,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's very interesting. And so obviously Lexi's was low res, and you guys said you guys
Yes.
We had the
first
res,
program.
yeah.
Yep.
And so my program it was full time for a full year. So
Mm-hmm.
in the UK, most master's degrees are just 1 year, and you go for
Oh.
the whole summer. So it's just one
Mm-hmm.
whole calendar year. And so we had 3 terms. In the first 2 terms, we had our workshop classes, our seminar, and then we took a literature class.
Mm-hmm.
And then our third, like the summer semester or term, was just for writing our dissertation. Um,
Ooh.
yeah. And so it was interesting because I had obviously I went to that school before for a semester
Mm-hmm.
in undergrad, and um there is really such a cultural difference between schools in the UK and schools in America, which I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people maybe don't assume because like we're both English speaking countries and we have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of influence on each other. But at least at the University of Edinburgh, it's there was like a very different work-life balance and very different relationships with our professors than like what I had at undergrad. Our
Mm-hmm.
undergrad university was tiny. It was like 2,500 students. And, everyone in our workshop, there was like 10 people max in your workshop and
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. And so having so many students, is very different.
Do you think that it is different culturally because it's in Edinburgh, or do you think it's just the difference between a big university and a small university?
I think it's both. And I think something that is really more prevalent in UK and like European universities is first of all your relationships with your professors. Like
Mm-hmm.
they have like I said, they have a very different idea of a work-life balance. All of our professors were like, I have 1 hour of office hours a week on like a random Tuesday, and sometimes there and I'm out drinking. And you're like, okay, I would love to have a conversation about this paper I'm writing, but okay. Um, and like our professors were literally on strike for almost half the time I was in school. So they were not
Wow.
teaching.
Oh,
Um,
how did that
what?
affect you? That's crazy.
Yeah. So I would say I loved living in Edinburgh and I loved all the people I met in my program. I do feel like the program itself was not like I didn't actually learn as much as I would have hoped
Hmm.
as a
Yeah.
freshman. Like I don't regret going. I think I
Hmm.
learned a lot about myself,
Yeah.
especially, and it was really I loved living there.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, they were striking, but they would only strike when they were supposed to be teaching our class, and then during their office hours, like they were still working all their own research and projects.
Of course.
We were like,
Oh,
okay, for sure. Um,
that's
That is
crazy.
Yeah,
wild.
and it was really interesting talking to my advisor, and I felt so obnoxiously American when I was having these conversations where there was one of the strike weeks we missed our seminar about editing and publishing, and I was like, "Hey, Queen, do you think we could maybe
Yeah.
go over that again?" And she was like, "Oh, would you be interested in that?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"In fact, yeah, I would, yes."
Oh my
I would
God.
like to know how to be published.
Well, and of course, my
Bizarre.
first thought as an American is like, do you get your money back? But I guess obviously payment is very different in
Yeah, in fact, it's
Europe.
not.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so frustrating. That's crazy.
Yeah,
So, I mean, Maddie and I have talked about like because our program was low residency, we feel like we are doing a lot of makeup work on our own of like trying to learn these things, especially about editing and publishing and whatever. Do you feel like you're also playing that makeup game because of the circumstances of your education?
definitely yes and no. I think that because our undergraduate program was so
Hmm.
like sort of based on a graduate model, and I started taking full workshop classes when I was 18.
Hmm.
you know, Being 18 and having your work torn apart by people
Yeah.
is very different
Yeah.
than when you're 25 and your brain is almost fully cooked. Like it's
Yeah.
humbling, but very helpful. So
Yes.
I think I'm very lucky that I
Hmm.
had an undergraduate program that was so um like consistent and helpful.
Hmm.
Feel like I was already really established as a writer, like as in I know my voice, I know what I'm good at, I know what I will always probably need edits on, like all that stuff.
Hmm.
I already knew that going into my grad program, and I'm really, really grateful that I did
Hmm.
because I ended up having to do a lot of that stuff on my own, which is part of the school culture over there. Like there is a lot of
Hmm.
you're just sitting down and you're studying, which I appreciate, but also what am I paying you for?
Right, exactly.
Um, so
Wow.
yeah, because I had other students who were or people in my program who did
Hmm.
not do creative writing in undergrad, or they just did English or whatever.
Right, yeah.
They had a really hard time with our um
Hmm.
shops, and like they didn't really know what was going on for a
Wow.
long time.
Hmm.
So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So as a writer, um, can you tell us what you're like working on right now, and how you're kind of managing your own writing with obviously a job and the magazine?
Yes. So I primarily write or am working on novels. I
Hmm.
write mostly fantasy and historical fiction, love mythology. I kind of have written stuff in all genres,
Hmm.
like whatever I'm interested in.
Yeah,
So I have been working on the same duology for like 5 years as it goes.
I get that.
Um, so I started working on it in grad school, and then I had to move home because of some medical issues with my family, and there was just a lot going on for a long time that I really was not writing. I didn't write
Hmm.
anything to do with that for probably a year and a half.
Hmm.
Um, and now like having the magazine and having a job, I'm trying to find those like little pockets of time.
Yes.
I have severe ADHD, unmedicated as of now. So,
Just makes the writing a bit more spicy.
right. And my day job is there's not like a lot of consistency. I work from home for a good majority of it,
Mhm.
and so
Hmm.
I really thrive on a routine that I don't currently, like, I'm bad at making my own routines. So I'm
This
really,
is so relatable.
yeah. So, I'm really in the market for a job that will
Yeah.
give me, like, you have 20 minutes of free time and that's the only time you're gonna have to write today, so you better sit down and do it.
Hmm.
That's when I'm the most productive. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have like full drafts of the duology? Are you in the editing process or like beta readers? Like where are you?
So I have a full first draft of the first book and a full outline and like half of a draft of the second. And I had to like put the first draft of the first book away for a while to be able to come back and look at it with any sort of objectivity.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Can't kill your darlings if you're like holding them in your hands.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I am doing like I think I'm like draft like 4 or something crazy. Um,
Not
I
crazy.
know.
Totally makes sense.
I think my first draft was like it was like 165,000 words or something like that. I was like, girl, this is too long. You
It's
can't
too
clear
loud.
this. You gotta stop talking.
That could be a
So,
duology in itself. It
it
could
could.
be a
Yeah.
trilogy.
Yeah, it could.
Oh my gosh. See, and this is so Maddie's territory, the, genre
I just
fiction of it all.
I just think it's bold that you're writing the second book. I'm like I have to know the first book makes it before I can commit to that.
That's real. I feel like if I don't have a full overarching story, then I'm
Yeah.
not going
Hmm.
to be able to accurately, or like to the best extent of my ability, write the first one.
Yes.
Hmm.
So I don't know, maybe it's ambitious of me, but we'll see.
I'm gonna say it's you're just planning for the future because once you get published and the first one's out there, then people won't have to wait as
Well,
long for the
see,
second
like, okay,
one.
so this book series, I went there. This lady just got published. Both of them are out. It's a
Oh,
trilogy.
really?
She had two out. Like I'd never seen her before, and she
Wow.
had two out. And I was like, that's the goal. Because I'm like, well, I'm buying
Yeah.
both of them. I don't know who you are, but I'm buying
Yeah.
both of them.
For her.
Right. Oh my gosh. That's so like I just you guys that are writing the genre fiction and like having series in mind is so amazing to me, the world building skill of it. Well, and I heard you mention that you have an outline. So you are very much like a planner in your writing generally.
Well, um, so, so, okay. So,
Such the vibes of the kombucha girl on
yeah.
TikTok of,
Um,
sorry.
so I feel like that really basic, I don't remember what it's called right now, but the story structure that's like the 5 points where you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
Yes.
intro, whatever,
Yep.
climax. So when I first draft something, that's kind of where my head is at. I normally
Hmm.
will know like the climax slash the end of the story
Hmm.
and the few
Hmm.
points in between, and we'll sort of write to those points. So it's a little bit of
Hmm.
a pantser plotter mix.
Yeah.
A
And then
hybrid.
yeah, hybrid.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Maddie is teaching me how to plot for the first time because I've never done it before. So maybe I'll call you up at some point to learn about this hybrid model too.
yes, I found it's helpful for me because I tend to like I'll do like a thought dump document that's just
Hmm.
like scenes that are in my head. I don't really know where they're gonna be, or just like lines of dialogue and whatever, and just dump out onto this document and then kind of piece it together. And then
Hmm.
once I've finished my first draft, I'll go back and read it and then actually make a more cohesive outline that's like,
Hmm.
okay, well, you have this side character that is doing nothing for 10 chapters. So fix that. Um,
Hmm.
and
Yep.
finding it that way to make sure that there is arcs and consistency and all that.
Very cool. That's awesome. I love that you guys are doing the magazine and still writing for yourself. And like, I know you talked about trying to find a balance, but like, I find myself neglecting my writing when I get too overwhelmed with anything else in life. So I love that you guys put so much heart and effort into the magazine, but then remember, like, you are writers at your core. I just am very impressed with all of you.
Thank you. I'm
That's
impressed with you guys. This is so fun.
Oh.
Yay! I'm
So
so
cool.
glad. I'm so glad. So I do want to ask you, um, we know obviously like you have the geese, and that kind of thing, but like what does your personal writing community look like? Like when you have a draft, you need somebody to read your work for you, like who do you go to?
Well, honestly, the geese. Um, so I
Nice.
think something that's so nice about, especially the four founders, the four of us, is that I we have been reading each other's writing for like, how old am I? Like 7 year, 8 years at this
Oh yeah,
point, something
wow.
like
Dang.
and so it is very helpful to be able to send a chapter to somebody and be like, you know what I need to do. Just yell at me and tell me that I need to do this thing.
Yeah.
Which is great. And I think all of
Hmm.
us have really specific talents in sort of different areas of writing, which is really nice to
Hmm.
be able to draw on. Like Parker is so good at character. Like he is such an amazing character study writer.
Hmm.
And Lexi is really, really good at like actual word choice and diction and like, because she's a poet, so she's very
Hmm.
concerned with the specifics. And Eric is like so creative and has such like beautiful language. So I think it's really nice to be able to draw on the inspiration and
Hmm.
expertise from your friends. So and then I have my my grandma as my baiter, one of my
Oh,
baiters.
I love that. Listen, my mom is my first reader, so I
Yeah.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so
I
cute. I
also
love
like that you
that.
specified that the different people that you're working with have very specific things that they can help you with. And I think that's good to have like a good balance of people who can help you with different areas.
Yeah.
Yes. No, absolutely. That's really nice. I'm thinking back to the ADHD problem, and I think I remember Lexi saying that she's paying one of her advisors to like make sure that she gets her work done. And I'm like, oh, maybe I can do that, but like maybe I'll just, have my mom yell at me every couple months to be like, where are the pages? You know?
Yeah, I really need that outside influence to,
Yeah.
that's like I'm,
I'm sure grandma would help with that, you know?
she's great. She really every time I do go and visit her, she's like, so give me the pages. Um, but yeah, it is very helpful for me if there is money or academics at
Yeah.
stake for
Yes.
me and
Yes.
in my writing. So that was actually the reason that I first started taking creative writing classes in undergrad. It
Hmm.
was not originally what I was planning on majoring in or doing.
Yeah, because you co-majored, right?
I did, yeah. So
Yeah.
I was majoring in public policy and I have a minor in political science. And then so at my freshman year, I'd always really enjoyed writing. Like I wrote a lot of stuff in
Mhm.
high school, and I realized that I hadn't written anything for a while. And so I
Mhm.
was like, you know what? I need the credit anyway. Like I need the creative credit. Let me take this creative writing class. It'll force me to write. And I was like hooked.
Hmm.
It was so
Mhm.
scary to because I'd never really shared my writing with anybody before. And
Mhm.
suddenly, you had 12 other people being like, I'm gonna tear this apart. And I was like, actually, this is thrilling.
Yes.
Hold on. Wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Very
Um,
love
nice.
you just dove right in. You're like, let's go. Let's try
Hmm.
it.
well,
And here
yeah.
you are,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
fiction editor for a magazine.
Oh, that's crazy.
Well, I'm gonna pitch an idea. If we whether we end up getting our panel at AWP or not, but the next AWP that we're all at, we'll send each other work ahead of time and do our own mini workshops together.
Fun.
Right? Wouldn't that be
That is
fun?
fun.
Would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially since, you guys don't know our work and we don't know your work. That's the part that I really love about workshops. Like my beta readers, I get a lot of value from, but a workshop having that fresh outside source that like doesn't know you or your writing is so helpful sometimes. I miss that from academia.
Did you guys also do the like cone of silence
Oh,
Yes. Okay.
thing?
I
yes.
like the code of
No, I
silence.
hate
Dude.
it.
Maddie
I hate
hates it.
that.
I like it.
I also
Yeah.
really like it actually, and I think it's because I really had to train out of myself to not try to defend every single action or every
Mhm.
single thing on the page. And it was so helpful for me, especially when I was 18 and 19, to be like,
Mhm.
if 10 people think this doesn't work, maybe
Right.
it's your fault.
Exactly. If I have to explain to you a character's motivation, maybe it's not actually on the
Right,
page.
right.
Yep. Yeah. No, I liked
I
it.
hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it. I'm a very inquisitive person, so when somebody makes a comment, I'm not trying to I don't want to defend myself. That's not what I want. I'm like, I just want to clarify that I understand the point you're making so I can write it down. Because by the end
Yeah.
of it, I I'm so shell-shocked by all the criticism. And they're like, "Do you have any questions?" It's like, can I go home and never come back?
Well, something that my first fiction like professor ever really did for us, it was we were mostly relegated to the cone of silence, but if there were enough questions or like conflicting questions where everybody
Mhm.
had an opinion but nobody was like knew what was going on, then you would be like, okay, can you clarify this? And then we would clarify,
Mhm.
and then they'd be like, okay, this is what you want to happen. How can we make this happen?
Mhm.
Because it's not working right now. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I enjoy.
Mhm.
See, and I like the Cone of Silence because I've been very lucky in having really good writing mentors and teachers along the way. And I think that Maddie has had less than stellar experiences with workshops, which makes sense why the Cone of Silence is more of a prison for you.
Yeah.
Whereas I tend to over talk, if you guys hadn't guessed that. So the Cone of Silence is very helpful for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm always wearing the cone of silence. You know, like
It's true.
Yeah, I think I would have agreed with you, Maddie, if I had my only experience with workshop had been my grad program.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Because they were like they did not explain to us how workshops worked. Like
Hmm.
we went in blind, and over half the people in my class had never been in a workshop. So I had to talk to the professor and be like, "Can you actually tell them how this works? Because they're like over there crying because somebody said, 'Hey, I don't, this sentence doesn't work.'" And they're like, "No." And I was like, "We need to have a conversation about why this is okay." Um,
Which is also, I feel like, a very UK mentality of like stiff upper lip, why are you crying over that one sentence? Whereas we are like, how could you say that to
yeah.
me? Very nice. Nice. Okay, well, we have two questions left because I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do want to know like, can you sum up and categorize? You know, Lexi kind of gave us like the overall pitch of Silly Goose, but what do you specifically look for or that you can tell writers who hope to get published with you guys?
For fiction specifically.
Yeah.
Yes, for fiction specifically.
So, I will remind the class what our
Yes.
our vibes are. So we are focused on craft forward whimsy. And so I think for the magazine as a whole, craft forward is like well written, well thought out. You can tell somebody took the time to like carefully construct it and all that. And then for me specifically, um, I think I will always ask myself the question, is this piece well written and does it move me in some way? Which seems basic. Um, but I think it's sort of twofold and I like my pieces to have both things. So for
Mhm.
something to be well written for me, of course, like grammar and all that
Mhm.
stuff is important. But for me, it's also really about like good flow and compelling plot and characters that I like actually care about and want to get to know.
Mhm.
Like if a story just has good grammar, but it's not really saying anything,
Mhm.
um, then I care less about it.
Mhm.
Because I think for me, fiction has always been my favorite way to have discussions about like social commentary and politics and love and whatever it is that you're talking about. And I think that fiction is really good at putting people in other people's shoes in a very unique way and getting people to
Yes.
empathize because you're spending so long with someone who is not you.
Yeah.
And so I think my favorite pieces of fiction that I read and what I write generally has something to say about what we things that people deal with every day, and that could be like falling in love. That could be like,
Mhm.
the experience of anxiety or, something really big like,
Mhm.
some social commentary. Um, but yeah, I think so that's sort of what I tend to look for. Um, yeah, and like going back to the diversity discussion, like especially I really love myths and folk tales and retellings from
Mhm.
other places. Um, so I would love to read more of that.
Mhm.
So if people are listening and they want to send me
Mhm.
stuff, like I love Beauty and the Beast as much as the next groupie. I
Mhm.
have read so many versions of that
Yeah.
that are all sort of still in a Western lens.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
something that I really find so fascinating about myths and folklore specifically is that a lot of times it really transcends culture. And a lot of cultures will have similar myths or stories. There's like a Cinderella-esque story
Mhm.
like 5,000 years ago in China or something like that. Like
Wow.
there's like rags to riches stories from every
Mhm.
continent. And I think having those retellings and those myths and like be informed by history and culture
Mhm.
can make them feel so fresh and like they are clearly saying something different about society than we would be saying
Mhm.
about it in America in the
Mhm.
West. And so that's what I'm looking for right now specifically. I would love more of that stuff. Um,
Cool.
but yeah, stuff that I sorry, that was like so much, but
No,
No, it
I
was
love that.
great.
That read like an agent's
It did.
manuscript wish
I was
list. Like that was
thinking the
very
same thing. I was like,
helpful. Yeah.
should magazines have like a manuscript wish list?
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yes. Well, it also, Maddie, it makes me want to connect her with Vanessa Montalban, who is a wonderful author that we got to interview. But her latest book, These Vengeful Wishes, is a Hispanic mythology retelling set in modern day Florida. So I'm like, hey, book rack, you should check it out because Vanessa's wonderful. But
Listening
she
time.
is really interested in that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, that's
Um, but yeah, the more people that we have the opportunity to talk to, the more of these little connections that I follow that I'm like, oh, I want to like have you guys talk and I want to have you guys talk. And like, I feel like that's the best part of having a literary community
This is
is
community.
getting
This
to
is
connect
community
everybody.
building.
Yeah.
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 exactly.
Yeah.
And I'll take all
Exactly.
genres. You can send me anything you want. Romance, fantasy, sci-fi, horror, anything that you feel has an element of whimsy, please send my
Done.
If somebody listening to this podcast was going to take one piece of advice from you, what would it be?
I think I wrote this down actually because I thought you asked this to Lexi and I was like, I'm gonna have something actually legitimate to say. Let me find it in my extremely long document of notes.
I love it. I love that you have notes prepped for this interview. Like that's so, it's such a compliment.
I'm a yapper and I didn't want to stray too far from the point.
Hmm.
Okay, so I feel like the best writing advice or like advice in general that has sort of encompassed every part of my life recently is that you are never going to feel really adult enough, quote unquote, to do something like this. I don't know if you guys feel that way, but
100%.
Yes.
I've noticed this a ton as I have moved like from my mid into my late 20s. Like for my day job, I'm a youth director. I work with middle and high school students, and I've been doing it for 3 years, and I've been working with kids
Mhm.
for like a decade before that, and still very often I find myself looking around like, is there not an adult here? Could
Right.
be here dealing with this issue.
Yep.
Um, and so I've really felt that way about the magazine and my writing in general. And I think I personally really tend to forget in my anxiety that I do in fact have a lot of experience, both academically and also just in life with
Mhm.
the writing and literary world, and that I actually do know a lot, even if sometimes I feel like I'm struggling to catch up or I'm like forgetting things or whatever it is. And it's all just kind of imposter syndrome, I think. But I think my biggest piece of advice is really just you're never going to feel adult enough to do these things, but if you care about it enough, like, you just really have to do it anyway.
Mhm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like all of us are
Yeah.
scared to send in our stuff, all of us are scared to show people our work, but you got to do it if you're,
Mhm.
you know, yeah.
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 So,
Well, I love that piece of advice too, because as you've talked about with the people submitting to your journal, like it is a lot of younger people. And I feel like that's got to be really inspiring. It's like, oh, you have the guts to do this at your age. Like, I have to stop being afraid. That's
Ah,
great
I
advice.
gotta get it together. Teaching adults from
Right?
Missouri is like putting me to shame.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming and talking to us. And our hope is to talk to the whole flock, one by one. So this has been awesome getting connected with you.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm Abigail.
And I'm Maddie, and this has been
Two writers.
Many Wrongs.